Tonight we're going to be doing a valve adjustment on the BMW R65, and we're going to pull the oil pan off just because the oil pan's leaking and it's out of the bike. It's a lot easier to do it when it's out of the bike, and we're on an engine stand here so we can rotate it, flip it around, make it a lot easier to do out of the frame. So I've soda blasted the engine twice now. First time I missed a couple of places. I also missed the last time I missed the exhaust port here, the threads. I had this all covered up with a plastic bag so that I wouldn't get pieces in the, I should say, soda, baking soda inside the engine. So I reversed that this time. I used this plug here and I blocked off the intake port with a plastic bag so that I could get those threads all cleaned out. So that's done. The engine looks great, except the rocker box covers, and we've got the old style ones of those. I've got to pull the, once I get this off the engine stand, I've got to pull the clutch apart and check that. So that's still on the to-do list. Other than that, the engine looks great. Like I said, we're going to rotate this around, pull the valve, rocker box covers off. I keep calling them valve covers. That's the correct term if the camshaft is over the head. But these are rocker box covers because the cam is in the engine, and really all you're covering here are the rocker arms, not the valves. So it's valve cover is incorrect in this case. So let's get started. All right, we're back to the helmet cam, just because this is going to be easier to do this way. And I've got, let me get my flashlight here. I've got the valve cover off, and I love to see an engine that's very clean. I mean, look at how clean that is. I know the heads were just done a few years ago, but it's still evidence of proper maintenance and proper oil changes, which is great. So I've taken the valve cover off, took the spark plug out to make it easier to turn the engine, and here's the spark plug in pretty good shape. Looks like the air-fuel mixture is correct. Very nice. I've also taken out the timing plug hole here so we can see the timing marks, and I've got this cylinder on top dead center, and I've got the timing mark at what they called TO. Let me just, it's not quite right on there. Let me just move it just a little bit. I've got a Allen head screw in the front crankshaft bolt, so I'm just going to turn this just an ever so slight amount. It's going to go too much if I push on that, so I'm just going to push here while I do that. There we go. Okay, that's good. All right, now what we have to do before we actually adjust the valves is we have to retorque the cylinder head. Anytime the cylinder head starts to loosen up, your valve clearance changes. So you got to make sure you got a good baseline and you got your valve clearances set for, your torque, your head's torqued first, and then you can do your valves. So I did loosen all of the head bolts, a quarter of a turn, and now we're going to go around and torque them little by little up to 29 foot-pounds. So we'll do that. I got my torque wrench out and I'm set to 12 foot-pounds right now. I'm going to start with number 1 here. You got to keep this engine stand from rotating. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we'll go up to 18. Let's call it 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we'll go up to 25. Let's do 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and now up to our final set of 29. We'll call it 30 for good measure. There. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now that that's done, now we can go ahead and get our feeler gauges out, and we should have some play in these rocker arms. We do very little. It feels real tight to me. So let me get my feeler gauges. I'm going to look up the spec because I don't know what it is off the top of my head, and I'll be right back. Okay, now we got our feeler gauge, and same deal. Exhaust should be 8,000. Nope, too tight. Intake should be 4,000. Where's the hole? Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Okay, so again, the intake is beautiful, and the exhaust is too tight. I can't even get the 4,000 in there, much less the 8. So we're going to loosen those guys. That was 212s. Oops. Come on, there we go. Very nice. Always easy the second time around. Okay, we got 8,000 there. 4,000's there. Something happened to the audio on this portion. When I was editing this and putting it together, there was no audio here, so I'm going to try and do a voiceover and recap what I saw. So, taking the oil pan off here for the first time, and it just kind of stuck, came released there, and the first thing I noticed when I pulled it off, everything was extremely clean. The flange was in good shape. Again, excellent signs of maintenance, proper maintenance and oil changes on the engine for its lifetime. Even though the cylinders were rebuilt 2 years ago, the block was not, and the block's in good shape. The gasket is cracked in a couple of places. I think I pointed out. Yep, there it's cracked, and it's leaking there. It's also cracked. It's kind of was swollen right there. So it's good that we got a new one coming. As I'm inspecting this, I find there's actually a green O-ring, or 3/4 of a green O-ring laying in the bottom of the oil pan. And then there's the rest of the O-ring at the top portion of the oil pan. The only thing I can think of is where the O-ring came from is it looks to be the proper size for the O-ring for one of the the pushrod tubes. So I'll look that up on the Mac site and see if they are indeed green, and then I think we can conclude that's where they're from. I suspect that whoever put the engine back together maybe lost an O-ring in there and then put another one on rather than trying to fish out the O-ring, because the tubes are not leaking. So here I'm inspecting, you can actually see the camshaft down in the engine there, and it's got a little bit of wear. I don't want to say wear, perhaps discoloration, or when metal on metal comes in contact, you get like a different kind of buffing effect, or a wear pattern worn into the camshaft. And I think that's more or less what I'm seeing. You can't feel anything, it's just a different color where the cam follower rides on the camshaft, but everything's in great shape. Super clean inside. No bits and pieces of anything in the oil pickup screen. Very good shape. I'm not sure what I'm going on about here, but it kind of sucks. I don't know why the GoPro just, for some reason, didn't capture audio during this session. All the rest of the sessions, even the subsequent sessions, it didn't record. So, very clean, good testament to the previous owner. Jim, good job with maintenance on this engine. It is in fantastic shape. Everything that I find here is in actually top shape. So we're good to go. The other place that green O-ring could have come from is perhaps the oil filter. We'll know here, whoops, we'll know here in a second. That's not confidence inspiring whatsoever, is it? That's like a wave ring that's been crushed. That's not a good sign, and this O-ring has been crushed. Figure out that in a second. And here's the filter. Whoa, yep, that's going to make a mess. On my nice clean engine. Let's try it again. No sign of a green O-ring there. Nope, no debris from an O-ring in there. Yeah, it's clean. So I'm going to go get the new filter, and hopefully it came with a new one of these wave washers. All right, here's the new filter. It's kind of interesting the way they split them in half like that. It's kind of cool, bizarre at the same time. Made in Austria. Nice. Nice to see something not made in China these days. And it looks like it did come with a new wave washer. So I think perhaps it was installed in the wrong way. So let's see if this makes any kind of sense. There's a crush washer for our drain plug, which is nice. All right, so O-ring, and gives you two gaskets, but yet we only need one. I wonder why they give you two. Perhaps it was just an oversight, or is there a difference in these from model to model? Nope, they're the same. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense that the O-ring would go on and then the crush washer or the wave washer, or does it? That's very odd. I guess it does make sense. Yeah, that would seal against that. And this would seal against that. Boy, that's a interesting way of sealing an oil filter. I'm just going to verify this. Before I screw this back together, I'm going to verify that that's the correct orientation of that wave washer. And I'll get back to you. So this is interesting. There's two diagrams here of this oil filter cover. One, it says up to 82, and one says 82 on. So what do you use for 82? 82 on. But this isn't correct. What we have there is a shim, and clearly the shim is to create a flat space at the end of this tube, just like it's shown here. You've got this tube, you get the shim, then you get the O-ring, then you get your paper gasket and your cover. 82 on, the flat surface is built into the tube and doesn't use a shim. So obviously we've got, in this case, a pre-82 oil filter case. So exactly the way it was put together is correct. I don't know why the wave washer was crushed like that, but, excuse me, the shim. But now we've got the shim in place, and as you can see, this tube here for the oil filter housing needs a flat surface for that O-ring to bite on. So there's our flat surface in the shim. And then we've got our new O-ring, and we've got our paper gasket and the cover. And we put all of this together. And this is going to be very difficult to do on the bike with the exhaust right here. I guess it would make sense to take the exhaust off and do it while the engine's in the bike, because you have to check you're supposed to periodically lubricate the exhaust flanges anyway, so a good time to do it is when you change the oil. So we've got, all right, let me get my, so it's a mystery where those green O-rings came from. I'm going to have to look up the parts fiche and see if the the pushrod tube's O-rings are green. They appear to be the right size for that. So I'm not sure if we don't have one. I mean, they weren't leaking, so I would imagine that somebody went to put one in and it fell in and they just put another one on rather than go fish it out. So, all right, we're good there. We're going to put the oil cover back on. We do have a new gasket coming for that, which is good because this is leaking and it's cracked in two places. Back of the engine is here, so this goes like so. All right, I'm just going to button this up, and we're done here with the engine. We're just going to wait for parts. So we'll see you next time.